On the 57th floor of a glass tower in Manhattan, a panicked 7-year-old girl screamed, threw a doll to the floor, and ran down the hallway crying after the sudden death of her mother. Her father, a wealthy and powerful billionaire, was stunned and could only hold his head in his hands. Everything seemed hopeless until a black maid gently placed a hand-sewn teddy bear next to the girl, causing her to stop crying immediately. And what she didn't expect was that simple action would spark a chain of events that shook Pierce Global and all of Manhattan. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from. And subscribe, because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. Inside the executive suite of Pierce Global Dynamics, the room felt unnaturally still. The hum of the air system was the only sound as Alexander Pierce stood frozen beside his desk, eyes locked on his laptop screen. There it was, the 9th psychological report about his daughter. He read the words again, even though he'd memorized them hours ago. Patient completely rejects strangers. Severe PTSD symptoms. No response to cognitive behavioral therapy. No response to play therapy. Psychiatric intervention recommended. Suggestion: short-term hospitalization. Alexander slowly closed the laptop. His jaw tightened. The word echoed in his head like a drumbeat he couldn't escape. Hospitalization. Not again. At 42, the CEO of a $5.5 billion biotech empire, a man who commanded 2,000 employees and negotiated with governments, now stood powerless before a 7-year-old child, his own daughter. 3 months. It had been 3 months since Victoria died. 3 months since the plane crash that took his wife and left his daughter a shell of who she used to be. Alexander stood and walked to the window. Below him, Manhattan glittered like scattered diamonds. From up here, the world looked controllable, manageable, but he couldn't manage his own home. He turned and headed down the hallway toward Lily's special room, the one he'd designed just for her. Toys lined the walls. Sketchbooks sat untouched on the shelves. Soft lights glowed warm and gentle. Cameras in every corner monitoring her every move, because he was terrified she'd hurt herself when no one was looking. In the far corner, Lily sat curled up, clutching an old doll, the last gift from her mother. Her face was turned to the wall, her small body so still she might have been a statue. Alexander's chest tightened. He knelt down, keeping his distance. He'd learned that getting too close made her scream. "Lily, sweetheart," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He tried to keep it calm, tried to keep the desperation out of it. "Today we're going to meet a new doctor. She's very nice. You'll like her." Lily didn't move, didn't even blink. Alexander swallowed hard. "She specializes in helping kids who've been through tough times. She has a daughter your age. She thinks you two might even become friends." Still nothing. He reached out slowly, his hand hovering near her shoulder. "Lily, please, just talk to me. Say anything. Yell at me if you want. Just don't. I don't want any doctors." Her voice was so small, so broken, it made his throat close up. "I want Mommy back." The doll flew across the room and hit the door. Alexander jerked back, his hands frozen in midair. Lily turned to face him, and for the first time in weeks, he saw her eyes. Red, swollen, full of a pain no child should ever carry. "I want Mommy," she whispered again, and then she screamed it. "I want Mommy back." Alexander didn't move, couldn't move. A woman who could run a global empire didn't know how to hold her own daughter. No, that wasn't right. He wasn't a woman. He was a man who'd built everything from nothing. And yet, he couldn't fix this. Couldn't fix her. The child had built a wall around herself, and no matter how powerful Alexander Pierce was, he couldn't find the door in. He stood slowly, his legs shaking. He walked out of the room and closed the door behind him. In the hallway, he pressed his back against the wall and slid down until he was sitting on the floor. For 3 months, he'd tried everything. The first therapist, Dr. Morrison from Yale, had lasted 5 sessions. Lily stayed silent through all of them, staring at the wall as if the doctor didn't exist. The second, Dr. Chen, a PTSD expert who'd worked with war veterans and trauma survivors, made it to the waiting room before Lily started screaming, a sound so raw and desperate that the doctor left and never came back. After that, it was nannies. 8 of them. Mrs. Martha, 25 years of experience with difficult children, quit after 4 days when Lily locked her out on the balcony for 2 hours. Lisa, a specialist in special needs care, woke up one morning to find a handful of her hair cut off and sitting on her pillow. The others didn't last a week. Every professional wrote the same line in their reports. This child needs time. Or a miracle. Alexander didn't believe in miracles anymore. His phone buzzed. He pulled it out and saw the name on the screen. Victoria Chen, Director of Finance, head of the board. He answered. What is it? Her voice was sharp, clipped. Alexander, the board is becoming concerned about your personal situation. Your recent absences from meetings could affect investor confidence. We need to discuss this. I know. He cut her off before she could go on. I'll handle it. Will you? There was a pause, and he could hear her breathing on the other end. The stock is down 12%. 2 key contracts have been rejected because you weren't there to close them. Shareholders are asking if this CEO is still capable of running his company. Alexander closed his eyes. I said, I'll handle it. How? By hiding in your daughter's playroom? Alexander, I'm not trying to be cruel, but you need to make a choice. The company or... He hung up. His hand dropped to his side, the phone still gripped tight. The company or his daughter, as if it were that simple, as if he could just pick one and let the other fall apart. But the truth was, both were falling apart, and he didn't know how to stop it. That night, Alexander sat alone in his office. Outside, the city gleamed like molten gold, reflected on the cold glass. On his desk lay an old folder, wedding photos of him and Victoria, pictures of baby Lily, her face round and bright, her eyes full of wonder, snapshots from their summer trip to Italy last year when everything had been perfect. Victoria's voice echoed in his memory, deep and warm and gentle, like a distant melody. You know, Alexander, you can be better than anyone else at what you do, but what I love most about you is how you love Lily, without ever needing to prove it. He smiled faintly, a trembling smile like a crack in flawless glass, because now he was failing at both, being a great CEO and being a whole father. When the first tear in 3 months fell onto the desk, the lights of Manhattan shimmered in his eyes, as if the entire city were crying with him. He didn't wipe it away. He just sat there, alone, while the world outside kept spinning. And somewhere below him, 45 floors down, in the lobby where no one important ever looked, a woman named Mara Ellington was finishing her shift, pushing her cart toward the service elevator. Her shift was almost over. Another day of being invisible. Another day of existing without being seen. She preferred it that way. The lobby was quiet now, just the hum of the air conditioning and the soft squeak of her cartwheels on marble. She stopped near the elevators to empty a trash bin, moving with the kind of mechanical precision that came from doing the same task 100 times. That's when she heard it. A sound so faint she almost missed it. A soft, broken sob coming from somewhere behind the thick marble column near the west entrance. Mara's hands froze on the trash bag. She knew that sound. God, she knew it better than her own heartbeat. It was the sound of a child trying not to cry, but losing the battle. The sound of someone so small trying to hold together something too big and too heavy. She'd heard it before, 6 years ago, from Elian's room. Her chest tightened. Every instinct told her to walk away, to finish her shift and go home and not get involved. Getting involved meant feeling, and feeling meant remembering, and remembering meant pain. But her feet moved anyway. She set down the trash bag and walked toward the column, slowly, one step at a time. She didn't call out, didn't announce herself. She just moved quietly, the way you'd approach a wounded animal. When she rounded the edge of the column, she saw her. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, curled up on the floor with her knees pulled to her chest and her face buried in her arms. Her brown hair hung in tangled waves, and next to her lay an old doll with one arm hanging by a thread. The girl's shoulders shook with silent sobs. Mara stopped 3 steps away, not too close, just close enough to be present. She'd learned this a long time ago when she was still a teacher. Sometimes children didn't need words. They just needed to know someone was there. She knelt down slowly, her knees touching the cold marble. The sound made the girl's head twitch slightly, but she didn't look up. Mara didn't say anything. She just sat there, waiting, letting the girl know she wasn't alone, but not forcing anything. 5 seconds passed. 10. The girl's breathing was ragged, uneven. Then Mara reached into the pocket of her uniform. Her fingers closed around something small, wrapped in faded cloth. She pulled it out carefully and unwrapped it. A stuffed bear sat in her palm, brown and lumpy, with one ear noticeably bigger than the other. The button eyes were sewn on crooked, and the stitching around the belly was uneven. It looked homemade, clumsy, the kind of thing that would never sell in a store. But it was soft, and it was warm, and it smelled faintly of lavender from the drawer where Mara kept it. She didn't know why she'd brought it to work today. She never brought it. It was the last one she'd made, the one she couldn't bring herself to donate. She'd just grabbed it this morning without thinking, shoved it in her pocket like a talisman. Maybe some part of her had known. Mara placed the bear on the floor between her and the girl. Not in the girl's space, just close enough that she could reach it if she wanted to. An offering, an invitation. No pressure, no demands. Then Mara sat back and waited again. The girl's sobbing quieted a little. Slowly, so slowly she lifted her head. Her eyes were red and swollen, her cheeks streaked with tears. She looked at the bear, then at Mara. Mara didn't smile, didn't speak. She just held the girl's gaze, steady and calm, like she had all the time in the world. The girl's hand moved, just barely. Her fingers stretched out, trembling, and touched the bear's mismatched ear. She picked it up, held it against her chest, and buried her face in its soft brown fur. For the first time since Mara had found her, the girl's sobs stopped. Mara felt something crack open inside her chest, something she'd kept locked away for 6 years. She stood slowly, carefully, not wanting to break the fragile moment. She turned to leave. Wait. The word was so soft Mara almost didn't hear it. She stopped but didn't turn around. You don't want him back? Mara looked over her shoulder. The girl was clutching the bear tightly, her eyes wide and uncertain, like she was afraid Mara would change her mind and take it away. No, Mara said gently. He's been lonely for a long time. He needs a friend. The girl stared at her. What's his name? Mara hesitated. She hadn't thought about naming it. It was just a bear, just a thing she'd made with her hands to keep them busy. I don't know, she said finally. Maybe you should give him one. The girl looked down at the bear, her fingers running over the uneven stitching. Okay. Mara nodded and walked back to her cart. Her hands were shaking now. She gripped the handle hard to steady them and pushed the cart toward the service elevator. She didn't look back. Couldn't look back. The elevator doors closed, and only then did she let out the breath she'd been holding. Upstairs, Alexander Pierce sat in his darkened office, staring at his computer screen. He'd pulled up the security footage like he did every night, scanning through the day to make sure Lily hadn't wandered off or hurt herself. He was about to close the window when something caught his eye. A woman in a janitorial uniform kneeling on the floor near the west column, and Lily, his daughter, the one who hadn't let anyone near her in 3 months. Alexander's heart stopped. He watched the woman place something on the floor, watched Lily reach out and take it, watched her hold it close. He rewound the footage, played it again. His hand moved to his mouth. What the hell? He whispered. He zoomed in, trying to see the woman's face, but the angle was wrong. All he could see was her uniform, the logo on her back. Clean Corpse Solutions. He grabbed his phone and called security. I need to know who is working the first floor lobby this evening. Janitorial staff, female. I need a name. There was typing on the other end. That would be Mara Ellington, sir. Been with us about 2 months. Send me her file. Everything you have. Right away, sir. Alexander hung up and opened his laptop again. Within minutes, an email arrived. He clicked on the attachment. Name, Mara Ellington. Age, 38. Previous occupation, elementary school teacher, 8 years. Employment gap, 6 years. Reason for termination, voluntary resignation. Why would a teacher with 8 years of experience quit and become a janitor? He kept reading. Personal notes. Requested minimal public interaction. Prefers overnight or early morning shifts. Reason for employment. I don't want to be seen. Alexander frowned. He picked up his phone again and called HR directly. I need the full file on Mara Ellington, not just the employment record, everything. Background, references. I don't care if it's confidential. Sir, I'm not sure we're allowed to. I'm the CEO. Get it for me. 10 minutes later, another email arrived. This one had a red flag at the top. Confidential, personal tragedy. Alexander opened it. His breath stopped. Son, Elian Ellington, age 5. Cause of death, car accident 6 years ago. Driver, Mara Ellington, mother. No charges filed, ruled accidental. Patient admitted for severe depression, 3-month hospitalization. Marriage dissolved 6 months post-incident. Alexander read it again, then again. The words blurred. She'd lost her son. She'd been driving when it happened. He thought about the bear, the clumsy stitching, the mismatched ears, the way she'd placed it on the floor and walked away without asking for anything in return. He thought about the look in her eyes in the security footage. Calm, patient, like she understood something no therapist ever could. She knew what Lily was feeling because she'd lived it. Alexander leaned back in his chair, his hands covering his face. For the first time in 3 months, he felt something shift inside him. Not hope, exactly, but something close to it. He picked up his phone and typed out a message to his assistant. "I need to speak with Mara Ellington tomorrow morning, before her shift starts. Set it up." Then he closed his laptop and sat in the dark, staring out at the city lights, wondering if maybe, just maybe, he'd finally found someone who could reach his daughter. Downstairs, Mara sat alone in the employee break room, staring at her hands. They were still shaking. She pressed them flat against the table, trying to steady them. She shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have stopped. Shouldn't have given the bear away. But when she'd heard that little girl crying, something inside her had broken open. All the walls she'd built, all the distance she'd put between herself and the world, gone in an instant. She'd seen Elian in that girl, heard his voice in her sobs. Mara closed her eyes and took a slow breath. She thought about going home, about crawling into bed and pretending today had never happened. But she knew she wouldn't be able to sleep because for the first time in 6 years, she'd let herself feel something other than numbness, and it terrified her. The next morning, Mara arrived at Pierce Global at 5:30, the way she always did. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the glass building in shades of gold and pink. She swiped her ID card at the service entrance and headed for the supply closet to grab her cart. That's when she saw him, Alexander Pierce, the CEO, standing in the hallway outside the janitorial closet like he'd been waiting for her. Mara froze. Her first instinct was to turn around and leave. Men in expensive suits didn't wait in back hallways for janitors unless something was very, very wrong. "Ms. Ellington." His voice was quieter than she expected, less commanding. She forced herself to keep walking. "Mr. Pierce, is something wrong?" "No." He stepped forward, then seemed to think better of it and stopped. "Actually, yes. I need to talk to you. About yesterday." Mara's stomach dropped. "If I overstepped, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interfere with—" "You didn't?" He said it quickly, almost desperately. Then he took a breath and tried again, slower this time. "You didn't interfere. You helped. That little girl you gave the bear to? That's my daughter, Lily." Mara blinked. She hadn't known, hadn't even thought to ask. "Oh, she's been—" Alexander ran a hand through his hair. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. "Her mother died 3 months ago. Plane crash. Since then, Lily won't talk to anyone, won't let anyone touch her. 9 therapists have tried. Every single one failed." He looked at Mara with something close to desperation in his eyes. "But you sat with her for 5 minutes, and she took the bear. She held it all night. It's the first time she's let anything comfort her since Victoria died." Mara didn't know what to say. She just stood there, gripping her cart. "How did you know what to do?" Alexander asked. "I didn't." The words came out before she could stop them. I heard her crying, and I recognized it." "Recognized it how?" Mara looked down. "I've heard it before. From my son. Before he died." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. "I know," Alexander said finally. "I read your file. I know about Elian, and I'm sorry. I can't imagine—" "You read my file." Her voice was flat, not angry, just tired. "I had to understand. I had to know how you got through to her when no one else could." He paused. "And now I do. You understand what she's going through because you've been there." Mara's jaw tightened. "What do you want from me, Mr. Pierce?" "I want you to stay, not as a janitor, as someone who can help Lily, someone she trusts." "I'm not a therapist." "I don't need a therapist. I need someone who gets it, someone who knows what it's like to lose everything and keep breathing anyway." His voice cracked slightly. "Please, I'm asking you, not as a CEO, as a father who doesn't know what else to do. Mara shook her head. You don't understand. I can't get close to another child. Not after Elian. I can't go through that again. You won't have to. Lily's not going anywhere. She's safe. She just needs help finding her way back. And what if I make things worse? What if I remind her of her mother and she breaks even more? She's already broken, Alexander said quietly. And I don't know how to put her back together, but yesterday, you did something I haven't been able to do in 3 months. You made her feel safe enough to stop crying. Mara felt her throat tighten. She closed her eyes, trying to push back the wave of emotion threatening to drown her. If I do this, she said slowly, it's not for money. It's because no child should have to feel what your daughter is feeling right now. The way my son felt. Alexander nodded. Whatever you need, just name it. I need you to understand something. She opened her eyes and looked at him directly. I can't promise I'll fix her. I can't promise anything will change. All I can do is be there, sit with her, the way I wish someone had sat with Elian. That's all I'm asking. Mara studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, I'll try. Relief washed over Alexander's face. Thank you, God, thank you. Mara didn't respond. She just turned and walked toward the elevator, leaving him standing alone in the hallway. That afternoon, Mara found herself standing outside Lily's room on the 45th floor. Alexander had given her a keycard, told her she could go in whenever she wanted, no restrictions, no supervision. But now that she was here, her hand on the door handle, she couldn't move. What if this was a mistake? What if seeing her again made Lily worse? She took a breath and opened the door. The room was beautiful. Soft lighting, toys neatly arranged on shelves, a reading corner with pillows, everything a child could want. And in the far corner, sitting with her back against the wall, was Lily. She was holding the bear, running her fingers over its mismatched ears. When she saw Mara, her eyes widened. Hi, Mara said softly. She stayed by the door. I just wanted to check on you. And on him. She nodded toward the bear. Lily looked down. I named him Patch. Patch. Mara smiled a little. That's a good name. Because he's made of patches, like someone broke him and sewed him back together. Lily's voice was so quiet, Mara had to strain to hear it. Yeah, Mara said. Like that. Lily looked up. Her eyes were red-rimmed but clear. Are you broken too? The question hit Mara like a physical blow. She opened her mouth, closed it. How did you tell a child that some things never really heal? Yeah, she said finally. I am. Because you lost someone. Yes. Like I lost my mom. Mara nodded. Like you lost your mom. Lily stood slowly, still clutching Patch. She walked toward Mara but stopped a few feet away, like she was testing the distance. Then we're the same. Mara knelt down so they were eye level. Yeah, sweetheart, I guess we are. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The room was so quiet, Mara could hear her own heartbeat. Then Lily reached out and touched Mara's hand. Just the lightest touch. Barely there, but it was enough. Mara felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back. Do you want to hear a story? She asked. Lily nodded. Okay. Mara sat down on the floor, cross-legged, and Lily sat across from her, still holding Patch. Once upon a time, there was a little bottle cap. He fell off a bottle and rolled into a drain. It was dark and cold down there, and the bottle cap thought, I'm useless now. I'm just trash. But one day, a kid found him, washed him off, painted him bright blue, and turned him into the most special button on her favorite jacket. Lily tilted her head. Why? Because the kid said, you're not trash. You're a treasure, not because you're perfect, but because you're still here. Lily looked down at Patch. Am I the bottle cap? Maybe, Mara said. Or maybe we both are. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, do you have more stories? Yeah, I have a lot. Will you tell me? Anytime you want. Lily scooted a little closer. Not much, just enough. What about a story about someone who's scared all the time? Mara thought for a moment. There was once a turtle who was born on a beach, but was afraid of water. All the other turtles swam away, and he was left alone. He cried and cried because he thought he'd never be like everyone else. What happened? He learned to walk underwater instead of swim. It was slower, harder, but he found things on the ocean floor the other turtles never saw. Pearls, shells, treasures. So being different is okay? Being different means you find your own treasures. Lily smiled, just a tiny bit, but it was there. And for the first time in 6 years, Mara felt something she thought she'd lost forever: hope. Over the next 3 days, something shifted in the Pierce Global building. Something small and quiet that most people didn't notice. Lily started leaving her room. Not far, just to the hallway outside, then to the small lounge area on the 45th floor. And each time she carried Patch tucked under her arm and looked around like she was searching for something. For someone. On the 4th day, Alexander was in a meeting with his finance team when his assistant knocked on the door. "Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Lily is asking for someone. She won't say who, but she keeps going to the elevators." Alexander stood so fast his chair rolled back and hit the wall. "Where is she now?" "First floor lobby. Security called up." He was out the door before his assistant finished the sentence. His heart hammered as he jabbed the elevator button. The ride down felt like it took forever, each floor ticking by with agonizing slowness. When the doors opened, he saw her immediately. Lily stood near the marble column where Mara had found her, clutching Patch and looking around with wide, uncertain eyes. And there, 20 feet away, was Mara. She'd been mopping the floor, but had stopped mid-stroke, her hands frozen on the handle. Lily saw her, and her whole face changed. "You came." Mara set the mop down slowly. "I work here, remember? I thought maybe you left, like everyone else." The words hit Alexander square in the chest. He stayed by the elevator, not wanting to interrupt, but unable to leave. Mara knelt down, keeping that same careful distance she always maintained. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm here 5 days a week, 6 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. You can find me anytime. Can you tell me another story?" "Right now." Mara glanced around the lobby. There were people walking by, employees heading to meetings, delivery workers pushing carts. "Don't you want to go somewhere more private?" Lily shook her head. "Here is fine. Please?" Mara looked uncertain, but she sat down on the floor anyway, right there in the middle of the lobby. Lily sat across from her, close enough that their knees almost touched. "Okay," Mara said. "Let me think." She was quiet for a moment, then began. "There was once a star, a really small one, so small that when it looked up at the sky, it couldn't even see itself shining. All the other stars were huge and bright, and this little star thought, 'What's the point of me being here? Nobody even notices me.'" Lily leaned forward. "What happened?" "One night, a little kid got lost in the woods. It was so dark she couldn't see anything. All the big bright stars were blocked by the trees, but the little star was so small it could shine through the branches, and the kid followed that tiny light all the way home." "So being small helped?" "Being small meant it could reach places the big stars couldn't." Lily looked down at Patch, running her thumb over his mismatched ears. "I feel small, like nobody sees me." "I see you," Mara said quietly, "but everyone else wants me to be okay already. They want me to smile and talk and be normal, but I can't. I don't know how." Mara's throat tightened. She remembered feeling exactly that way after Ilian died. Everyone telling her it would get better. Time heals all wounds. You need to move on. As if grief had an expiration date. "You don't have to be okay," she said. "Not for anyone. Being sad isn't wrong. Missing your mom isn't something you need to fix." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Really? Really? You get to feel however you feel, and anyone who says otherwise doesn't understand what it's like to lose someone you love. Do you still feel sad about the person you lost?" Mara nodded. "Every single day." "Does it ever stop hurting?" God, how did you answer that honestly without crushing a child's hope? Mara took a breath. "It doesn't stop, but it changes, like a cut that scars over. It's still there, but it doesn't bleed anymore." Lily thought about that. "How long does it take?" "I don't know. It's different for everyone. But I can tell you this. You don't have to do it alone. That's the part I got wrong." "What do you mean?" "When my son died, I pushed everyone away. I thought if I didn't let anyone close, I couldn't get hurt again. But all that did was make me lonely." Mara's voice wavered slightly. "I'm still learning that letting people in doesn't mean you're forgetting the person you lost. It just means you're letting yourself keep living." Lily was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "What was his name? Your son?" "Elian." "That's pretty." Lily paused. Can you tell me about him?" Mara's breath caught. No one had asked her that in years, not even Daniel toward the end. It was like Elian had become a forbidden topic, something people tiptoed around to avoid making her cry. But Lily was looking at her with such open, genuine curiosity that Mara found herself answering. He was 5. He loved building things. Lego, blocks, anything he could stack up. He'd make these elaborate towers that would fall over, and he'd just laugh and start again. She smiled, a real smile, small but there. He had this stuffed dog he carried everywhere, called it Captain, slept with it every night. Like Patch? Yeah, like Patch. Do you still have Captain? No. He was buried with Elian. Lily reached out and placed her hand on top of Mara's. The touch was so light Mara barely felt it, but it sent a shockwave through her entire body. "I'm sorry you lost him," Lily whispered. "I'm sorry you lost your mom." They sat there like that, hand in hand, 2 people connected by the same terrible understanding. Around them, life in the lobby continued. People walked by, talked on phones, hurried to meetings. But in that small space between the marble column and the window, time seemed to stop. Alexander watched from across the lobby, his hand pressed to his mouth. He'd seen therapists try every technique in the book: play therapy, art therapy, cognitive, behavioral approaches. None of it had worked, but this, 2 broken people sitting on a floor sharing their pain, this was working. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Victoria Chen. Again. Probably calling about the board meeting he'd skipped yesterday. He declined the call and put the phone back in his pocket. For the first time in 3 months, something mattered more than the company. After a while, Lily spoke again. "Mara." "Yeah, sweetheart. When you tell stories to other kids, is Elian listening too?" The question hit Mara like a freight train. She blinked hard, fighting back tears. "I'd like to think so. Then when you tell them to me, he's listening." "Right. Yeah, I think he is." Lily smiled. A real smile, small and fragile, but unmistakably there. "Good, because I want him to know that Patch is taking good care of me." Mara couldn't speak. She just nodded, her vision blurring with tears she'd been holding back for 6 years. For 6 years, she'd felt like Elian's death had been meaningless. A tragedy with no purpose, a loss that served no greater good. But sitting here, watching this little girl smile for the first time in months, she realized something. Maybe this was how Elian wanted her to keep living, not by forgetting him, but by helping other children who needed what she could give. A hand touched her shoulder. She looked up to see Alexander standing there, his eyes red-rimmed. "Thank you," he said, his voice breaking. "I don't know what you're doing, but thank you." Mara stood slowly, brushing off her uniform. "I'm not doing anything special. I'm just sitting with her." "That's everything." He looked down at Lily, who was still smiling at Patch. "I haven't seen her smile in 3 months. I was starting to think I'd never see it again. She's not broken, Mr. Pierce. She's just hurting. There's a difference. I know that now." He paused, then said, "I meant what I said yesterday. I want you to stay, not as janitorial staff, as, I don't know what to call it, a friend, a guide, whatever Lily needs." Mara shook her head. "I'm not qualified. Qualified doesn't matter. Connection matters. And you've connected with her in a way no one else has." His voice grew urgent. "Please, I'll pay you whatever you want. Set your own hours. Whatever it takes." "It's not about money." Mara's voice was firm now. "If I do this, it's because I don't want another child to feel the way Lily feels right now, the way Elian felt before he died. But you need to understand something. I can't replace her mother. I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone who's been through the same thing." "That's exactly what she needs." Mara looked down at Lily, who was watching them both with wide eyes. "What do you think, Lily? Do you want me to stick around?" Lily nodded so hard her hair bounced. "Yes, please." "Okay then." Mara took a deep breath. "But I have one condition." "Name it," Alexander said immediately. "If I'm going to do this, I do it my way. No therapists watching, no cameras recording our conversations, just me and Lily. Trust or nothing." Alexander hesitated. The cameras had been his security blanket, his way of making sure Lily was safe when he couldn't be there. But he looked at his daughter's face, really looked at it, and saw something he hadn't seen in months. Hope. "Okay," he said. "Trust." Mara held out her hand. Alexander shook it, and just like that, everything changed. 3 days after their conversation in the lobby, Alexander called an emergency meeting with his executive team. He stood at the head of the conference table, looking at the 12 faces staring back at him with varying degrees of concern and impatience. Victoria Chen spoke first. She always did. "Alexander, we've been patient, but the shareholders are asking questions we can't answer. Your attendance at board meetings has dropped to 30%. 2 major contracts fell through because you weren't there to close them. And now we're hearing rumors that you've hired some kind of unlicensed caregiver for Lily." She leaned forward, her voice sharp. "What exactly is going on?" Alexander took a breath. He'd prepared for this. "You're right. My focus has been divided. But my daughter was dying right in front of me, and I had to make a choice." "Dying?" Victoria's eyebrows shot up. "She has PTSD, not a terminal illness. When a child stops eating, stops speaking, stops wanting to exist, that's dying. Maybe not physically, but in every way that matters." His voice hardened. "And yes, I hired someone who's actually helping when 9 licensed professionals couldn't." "A janitor," one of the other executives said. "Not cruelly, just stating a fact. A woman who lost her own child and knows what my daughter is going through. A woman who, in 1 week, has done more for Lily than months of therapy." Alexander looked around the table. "I don't care about her credentials. I care about results." Victoria Chen's expression softened slightly, but her tone stayed firm. "We're not questioning your love for Lily. We're questioning whether you can run this company while dealing with a personal crisis." "I can." "Can you? Because the numbers say otherwise." Alexander's jaw tightened. "Give me 1 month. If I can't stabilize both situations by then, I'll step down voluntarily. But I need you to trust me." The room fell silent. Victoria exchanged glances with the other board members. Finally, she nodded. 1 month. But Alexander, if things don't improve, we'll have to make difficult decisions." "Understood." The meeting ended, and Alexander returned to his office feeling like he'd just run a marathon. His phone buzzed immediately. A text from his assistant. "Miss Ellington is here. She says you wanted to see her." He'd almost forgotten. He'd asked Mara to come up during her lunch break. There was something he needed to discuss with her, something that had been eating at him since their conversation in the lobby. When Mara walked in, she looked uncomfortable, out of place. She still wore her janitorial uniform, and she kept her hands clasped in front of her like she was trying to make herself smaller. "You wanted to see me?" she asked. "Sit, please." Alexander gestured to the chair across from his desk. She sat, but barely, perched on the edge like she might need to run at any moment. "I need to ask you something," Alexander said. "And I need you to be honest with me." Mara's shoulders tensed. "Okay. Why are you really doing this? Helping Lily, I mean. Is it guilt? Because of what happened to your son?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Mara's face went very still. "I read the full report," Alexander continued, his voice gentler now. "You were driving when the accident happened. The truck ran a red light, but you were the one behind the wheel. And I know, that kind of thing destroys people. So I need to understand, are you trying to save Lily because you couldn't save Elian?" Mara's hands clenched in her lap. For a moment, Alexander thought she might get up and leave, but then she spoke, her voice low and steady. "You want the truth? Yes. Part of me is doing this because of guilt. Because every day for 6 years, I've woken up wishing I'd taken a different route. Wishing I'd left 5 minutes earlier or 5 minutes later. Wishing I'd seen that truck coming and done something. Anything to protect my son." Her voice cracked. "But that's not why I'm helping Lily." "Then why?" "Because I see her pain, and I recognize it, because no child should have to carry that weight alone, and because—" She paused, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Because maybe this is how Elian would want me to keep living. Not by forgetting him, not by punishing myself forever, but by making sure another child doesn't feel as lost as he did in those final moments." Alexander felt his throat close up. "Mara, I didn't mean to—" "It's fine. You needed to know." She wiped her eyes quickly. "Is that all?" "No." He stood and walked around the desk, leaning against it so they were closer to eye level. "I need to make this official. I want to hire you full-time, not as janitorial staff, as Lily's companion, her friend, whatever title makes sense. You'd set your own hours, work from here or from my home, whatever Lily needs, and I'll pay you 3 times what you're making now." Mara shook her head. "I told you it's not about money." "I know, but you still need to live. You still have bills. Let me at least take that worry off your plate so you can focus on Lily. What if I can't help her? What if I make things worse? You won't. You've already proven that." He hesitated, then added, "Look, I know this is a lot to ask, and I know it's going to hurt. Getting close to Lily means opening yourself up to all the feelings you've been trying to avoid for 6 years. But she needs you. And honestly, I think you might need her too." Mara looked down at her hands. They were shaking slightly. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "I'm terrified of caring about her and then losing her, or losing myself in the process. Then we'll be terrified together." Alexander's voice was firm but kind. "Because I'm scared too. Scared I'm going to fail her. Scared I already have. But at least if we're both trying, she's got 2 people in her corner instead of 1. Mara was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up and met his eyes. "If I do this, I do it my way. No board meetings about her progress, no performance reviews, just me and Lily, figuring this out as we go. Deal. And if at any point I think I'm making things worse, I walk away. No questions asked." Alexander wanted to argue, but he could see from her expression that this was non-negotiable. "Okay, but promise me you'll give it a real chance before you decide that." "I promise." He held out his hand. She shook it, her grip firmer than he expected. "When do I start?" she asked. "Whenever you're ready." "Tomorrow, then." She stood, then paused at the door. "Mr. Pierce? Call me Alexander, please." "Alexander, thank you for trusting me with her. Thank you for seeing her when no one else could." After Mara left, Alexander sat back down at his desk and pulled up the security footage from earlier that day. He'd promised no cameras during their private conversations, but he couldn't resist checking the public areas. There was Lily, sitting in the small lounge on the 45th floor, and there was Mara sitting across from her. They weren't talking, just sitting together, Lily holding Patch and Mara holding a cup of coffee. 2 broken people keeping each other company. That evening, Mara returned to her apartment in Queens. She set her bag down and walked to Elian's room, the way she did every night. But this time, when she looked at his photo, she didn't just see loss, she saw possibility. "I met a little girl," she said to the picture. "Her name is Lily. She's 7, like you would have been, and she's hurting so much, Elian, just like you were." She touched the frame gently. "I'm going to help her, not because it'll bring you back, but because I think this is what you'd want me to do, to take all this love I still have for you and give it to someone who needs it." She walked to her kitchen table and pulled out a notebook. At the top of a blank page, she wrote, "Stories for Lily." Then she started writing. Stories about stars and turtles and bottle caps. Stories about being small and scared and broken, but still being enough. Stories that might help a little girl find her way back home. Alexander had held a press conference. She watched the video with shaking hands. Alexander stood at a podium, microphones everywhere, cameras flashing. He looked exhausted but defiant. "I'm here to address the recent stories about my family and Miss Mara Ellington. Yes, Mara was employed as a janitor at Pierce Global. Yes, she's now my daughter's companion. And yes, she lost her own child 6 years ago." He paused, looking directly at the cameras. "The board and certain media outlets want to turn this into a scandal. They want to question Mara's qualifications, my judgment, my fitness to lead this company. So let me be crystal clear about something." He leaned forward. "I don't care about qualifications. I don't care about credentials or degrees or professional certifications. 3 months ago, my daughter stopped speaking, stopped eating, stopped being herself. I hired the best therapists money could buy. PhDs, specialists, people with credentials coming out of their ears, and none of them could reach her." His voice got stronger. "Then Mara Ellington knelt down next to my daughter and gave her a stuffed bear with mismatched ears. And for the first time in 3 months, Lily stopped crying. Not because Mara had the right credentials, but because she had something better. She had a heart that understood pain." Reporters shouted questions. He ignored them. "So here's my statement for the board, for the media, for anyone questioning this decision. Mara stays. She's not an employee anymore. She's family. And if the board doesn't like it, they know where to find me." He stepped away from the podium. The video ended. Mara sat frozen, tears running down her face. Family. He'd called her family. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. "Hello?" Miss Ellington, this is Officer James Reeves with NYPD. We've received a complaint regarding your interaction with Lily Pierce. We need you to come down to the precinct to answer some questions. The bottom dropped out of Mara's world. A complaint? What kind of complaint? Anonymous tip. Concerns about inappropriate conduct with a minor. I'm sure it's nothing, but we have to follow up on all reports. Can you come in this afternoon? Yes, I'll come in. She hung up and immediately called Alexander. No answer. Left a voicemail. Tried again. Nothing. The precinct was exactly what she expected. Fluorescent lights, scuffed floors, the smell of old coffee and institutional cleaning products. Officer Reeves was polite but distant, leading her to a small interview room. This is just routine, he said, but his eyes said otherwise. We received a call yesterday claiming that you've been engaging in inappropriate behavior with Lily Pierce. The caller suggested you might be. He glanced at his notes, projecting unresolved trauma onto a vulnerable child. That's ridiculous. Who made this complaint? Anonymous. But given the recent media attention, we have to investigate. He pulled out a recorder. Do you consent to having this conversation recorded? Yes, I have nothing to hide. The questions came fast. How did you meet Lily? How often do you see her? Are you ever alone with her? Has there been any physical contact? What's the nature of your relationship? Mara answered everything honestly, feeling her life dissected under harsh lights by a stranger who looked at her like she might be dangerous. 40 minutes in, the door opened. Alexander burst in, his lawyer right behind him. This interview is over. Alexander's voice was ice. My attorney, Richard Chen. He'll be handling all communication from here forward. Officer Reeves stood. Mr. Pierce, we're just doing our job. By harassing the woman who saved my daughter's life, by treating her like a criminal based on an anonymous tip that I guarantee came from someone with a corporate axe to grind, Alexander moved to Mara's side. She's done nothing wrong. You have no evidence of wrongdoing because there is none. So unless you have a warrant, we're leaving. Richard stepped forward. All business. My client has fully cooperated. Unless you're prepared to charge her with something, which I strongly advise against given the complete lack of evidence, we're done here. Officer Reeves looked between them, frustrated. We're just trying to protect the child. So am I. Alexander's control slipped. For 3 months, I watched my daughter disappear. 3 months of specialists and therapists and medications, and nothing worked. Then Mara came into our lives and Lily came back. So don't talk to me about protecting children when you're investigating the one person who actually succeeded in helping mine. The silence was deafening. We'll be in touch if we have further questions. Officer Reeves finally said, shutting off the recorder. Outside the precinct, Mara leaned against the building, legs shaking. Alexander stood next to her, both of them breathing hard. This is getting ugly, Mara said. It's going to get uglier. The board leaked this to the press. By tomorrow, every news outlet will be running stories about the police investigation. Maybe I should step back, just for a while, until things calm down. No. Alexander turned to face her. That's exactly what they want. They want you gone so they can control the narrative, get me to hire someone appropriate, make this whole situation disappear into corporate sanitization. But Lily needs you. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. Today. He pulled out his phone. Look at this. A text from the nanny. Lily heard about the police. She's locked herself in her room and won't come out. She's asking for Mara. Mara's chest tightened. I need to get to her. That's what I'm saying. They can threaten all they want, investigate all they want, write all the articles they want, but my daughter needs you, and that's the only fact that matters. They rushed back to the penthouse. Mara could hear Lily crying before they even opened the door. Lily! Mara knocked on the bedroom door. Sweetheart, it's me. Can you let me in? Are you going to jail? Lily's voice was muffled, broken. Caroline said they took you to the police station. She said you might go to jail because of me. Mara's hands clenched. Caroline was wrong. I'm not going anywhere. Can you open the door so we can talk? Promise you're not lying. Everyone lies. Mom said she'd be home for my birthday and then she died. Dad said everything would be okay. And it's not okay. Promise you're telling the truth. I promise, baby. I'm right here. I'm not leaving. The lock clicked. The door opened a crack. Lily's face appeared, red and swollen from crying. Patch clutched so tight his stuffing was probably compressed. You came back." "Of course I came back. I told you we're in this together." Lily threw herself at Mara, sobbing. "They're trying to take you away, just like Mom. Everyone I love goes away." Mara held her tight, feeling the little body shake. She looked at Alexander over Lily's head. His face was set, determined. He knelt down next to them. "Lily, look at me. Nobody is taking Mara away. I won't let them. Do you understand? I don't care what the police say, what the board says, what anyone says. Mara is part of our family now, and families protect each other. But what if they make you? What if they say you have to? Then they'll have to arrest me too." He said it so seriously that even Mara believed him. "Because I'm not letting anyone separate us. Not the company, not the police, not anyone." Lily pulled back, looking between them with desperate hope. "Really? Really?" Alexander stood up. "In fact, I'm making it official. Mara, as of right now, you're not an employee. You're Lily's legal guardian. Equal decision-making authority with me regarding her care and well-being." Mara's eyes went wide. "Alexander, you can't just..." "I can, and I am. Richard is already drawing up the papers. They want to question your role? Fine. Your role is guardian. They want to investigate? Great. Investigate a legal family arrangement." He looked at his daughter. "Nobody takes Mara away from us. I'm making sure of that right now." Lily's crying slowed. "Mara's really staying. Like, officially staying. Officially staying. Like a second mom?" The question hung in the air. Mara's breath caught. Alexander looked at her, asking permission with his eyes. Mara thought about Elian, about how terrified she'd been to love again, to let anyone close enough to hurt her, about how this little girl had somehow broken through 6 years of walls without even trying. "Yes," Mara said softly, "like a second mom, if that's what you want." Lily nodded, fresh tears spilling over, but these were different tears. Relief tears. Happy tears. "I want that. I want you to be my family." "Then that's what I am." They sat on the floor of Lily's room, Mara, Alexander, and Lily, holding each other while the world outside tried to tear them apart. But inside this room, in this moment, they were safe. And for now, that was enough. The legal paperwork took 3 days. 3 days of lawyers and signatures and emergency hearings where a judge looked at Mara with suspicion until Alexander presented 37 pages of evidence. Therapy notes, teacher reports, video footage of Lily laughing for the first time in months. "This is highly unusual," Judge Martinez said, looking over his glasses at Alexander. "You want to grant guardianship to someone you've known for 6 weeks? I'm granting guardianship to the person who brought my daughter back from the edge. Time has nothing to do with it." "And you, Miss Ellington," the judge turned to Mara. "You understand the responsibility you're taking on? The scrutiny you'll face? The permanent nature of this arrangement? I understand that a little girl needs me. That's all I need to understand." The judge signed the papers. By Thursday afternoon, Mara officially had legal guardianship of Lily Pierce. She stared at the document in her Queens apartment that night, still not quite believing it was real. Her phone buzzed. "Alexander, Lily wants to know if you can stay over tonight. First official guardian sleepover." Mara smiled, packed an overnight bag, and headed to Manhattan. The penthouse felt different now, not like a workplace or client's home, like somewhere she belonged. Lily met her at the door, already in pajamas, patch under one arm. "Mara, Dad ordered pizza. We're having a celebration." They ate pizza on the living room floor, Lily chattering about her day at school, how she'd told everyone that Mara was her guardian now and they'd better not be mean about it. "What did your teacher say?" Mara asked. "She said she was happy for me, that having people who love you is what matters most." Lily picked pepperoni off her slice. "But some of the other kids were weird about it. Tommy said his mom said you're probably crazy." Alexander's jaw tightened. "Tommy's mom can..." "Doesn't matter what Tommy's mom thinks," Mara interrupted smoothly. "What matters is what you think. I think Tommy's mom should mind her own business." Lily said it so matter-of-factly that both adults laughed. After dinner, Mara read Lily a story. Something about a brave turtle who learned to swim even though everyone said he couldn't. Lily fell asleep halfway through, patch tucked under her chin. Mara carefully extracted herself from the bed and found Alexander in the kitchen, staring at his laptop. "Stock's down another 8%, he said without looking up. "Board meeting tomorrow. They're going to try to force me out." "Can they do that?" "Technically, yes. If they can prove I'm not acting in the company's best interest. He closed the laptop. And right now, every decision I make seems to hurt the company. So maybe they're right. You don't believe that? I don't know what I believe anymore. He rubbed his face. I built this company from nothing. 15 years of 18-hour days, sacrificed relationships, missed moments with Victoria and Lily. All for what? So a bunch of board members can question my judgment? You're questioning yourself right now. Don't. He looked at her, really looked at her. How are you so certain about all of this? About Lily? About me? About turning your entire life upside down? Because for 6 years, I wasn't certain about anything. I just existed, day to day, trying not to feel too much. And then I met your daughter, and suddenly I had a reason to feel again, to care again, to risk my heart again. She paused. You gave me that. Both of you. So if the price is dealing with board meetings and bad press and people thinking I'm crazy, fine, I'll pay it. Alexander stood up, moved closer. They were inches apart now, and the air between them felt charged with something neither had acknowledged until now. I don't know how to thank you for what you've done for us. You don't need to thank me. You gave me my life back. That's enough. They stood like that for a moment, two wounded people finding something unexpected in their shared brokenness. Then Alexander's phone rang. He looked at the screen and his face went white. It's security. Lily's missing. The words didn't make sense at first. Missing? How could she be missing? She was asleep in her room, safe, protected. They ran to Lily's bedroom. The bed was empty, window closed, door unlocked. Alexander was already on the phone with building security, his voice sharp with panic. Check the surveillance. Every camera. Find her. Mara's mind raced. Where would a 7-year-old go at 10 p.m. on a Thursday? Why would she leave? Then it hit her. The old Pierce Global building, Mara said. The one you sold last year. Where did Victoria's office used to be? Alexander stared at her. Downtown 23rd Street. But how would she... She took the subway once with Victoria. She told me about it last week, said it was their special mother-daughter adventure. She said your wife's office had a secret spot behind the desk where Lily would hide during meetings. That building's under construction. It's not safe. He was already moving, grabbing his coat. Call the police. Tell them where we're going. They took Alexander's car, running every red light, the city blurring past. Mara called 911, explained the situation, heard the dispatcher say units were being sent to the location. The old Pierce Global building stood dark and half demolished, construction scaffolding covering the facade. Alexander didn't bother with the front door. He went straight to the side entrance he still had keys for, pushing through doors marked "No Trespassing." Lily! His voice echoed through the empty lobby. Lily, if you can hear me, answer. Nothing. They took the stairs. The elevators were shut down for construction. Mara's legs burned by the 7th floor where Victoria's old office had been. The door was open, and inside, by the light of a small flashlight, sat Lily Pierce, surrounded by old photographs. Lily! Alexander rushed forward, but Mara grabbed his arm. Wait, she whispered. Let me. She approached slowly, like she had that first day, making herself non-threatening. Lily looked up, tears streaming down her face. I needed to see her, Lily said, her voice breaking. I needed to remember what she looked like when she wasn't just in pictures. This is where she smiled the most. At work, when she was doing important things. I come here sometimes in my dreams, and she's still here. And she tells me everything's going to be okay. Mara sat down on the dusty floor next to her. What did you need to remember, sweetheart? Her face when she was happy. Not sad mom face or stressed mom face. Happy mom face. Like in these pictures. Lily held up a photo of Victoria laughing at something off camera. I was scared I was forgetting what happy looked like on her. Oh, baby. Mara put her arm around the small shoulders. You're not forgetting her. She's right here. She touched Lily's chest. She's in your heart. Every happy memory, every laugh, every time she made you feel safe and loved. That's all still here. You carry it with you everywhere. But what if it's not enough? What if I need more than memories? Then you have us. Alexander finally moved closer, kneeling on Lily's other side. You have me and Mara. We're not replacements for Mom. Nobody could ever replace her. But we're here, and we love you, and you don't have to run away to old buildings to find that. Lily looked between them, this little girl with too much grief and too many questions. I'm sorry I scared you. I needed to know she was real, that I didn't make up how good things used to be. She was real, Mara said firmly, and the good things were real. And it's okay to need to remember them. But next time, tell us. We'll come with you. We'll remember her together. You didn't know her. No, but you did. And every time you tell me about her, I get to know her a little bit through you. That's how love works. It gets passed down, shared, kept alive through stories. Sirens wailed outside, police cars pulling up, officers rushing into the building. We're here, Alexander called out. 7th floor, she's safe. 2 officers appeared in the doorway, breathing hard from the stairs. Everyone okay? We're okay. Alexander stood, lifting Lily into his arms. Just a little girl who needed to visit her mother's memory. The lead officer, a woman with kind eyes, approached. Miss, I'm Officer Santos. You gave everyone quite a scare tonight. Can you tell me why you left home? Lily buried her face in Alexander's shoulder. Mara stood up, meeting the officer's eyes. She needed to remember her mother. Her mother died 3 months ago, and this was the place where her happiest memories lived. She's 7 years old, and she's trying to figure out how to keep loving someone who's gone. That's not running away. That's surviving. Officer Santos studied them, this strange little family pieced together from tragedy. I get it. I really do. But you can't come here alone, sweetie, okay? It's not safe. Next time you bring your dad or... She glanced at Mara. Whoever this is. She's my other mom, Lily said, lifting her head. She's Mara, and I'm sorry I didn't tell them I was leaving. I just didn't want them to say no. We wouldn't have said no, Mara said gently. We would have come with you. That's what family does. We go to the hard places together. They left the building together, Lily carried between Alexander and Mara, officers escorting them like some kind of strange processional. Outside, news vans had already arrived. Someone had been monitoring the police scanner. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Mr. Pierce, is it true your daughter ran away because of the custody situation? Miss Ellington, did you encourage Lily to leave home? Is the child in danger? Alexander turned to face the cameras, still holding Lily. My daughter didn't run away. She went somewhere she needed to go, and we brought her home. That's it. That's the whole story. No scandal, no drama. Just a family dealing with grief in the only way we know how, together. He pushed through the crowd, Mara right beside him, and they got into the car. The drive home was silent. Lily fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from her adventure. Mara watched the city lights pass, thinking about how much had changed in 6 weeks. Back at the penthouse, Alexander carried Lily to bed. Mara followed, watching him tuck her in, adjust Patch the bear, kiss her forehead. I love you, sweetheart, he whispered. Don't ever scare me like that again. I love you too, Daddy. Lily's eyes were already closing. And I love you, Mara. Thank you for understanding. Always, baby, always. In the hallway outside Lily's room, Alexander leaned against the wall, looking completely drained. I don't know how much more of this I can take, he said quietly. The board meeting's tomorrow. They're going to use tonight against me. Proof that I'm an unfit parent, that my judgment is compromised, that everything's falling apart. Or, Mara said, tonight proves that we're a family, that when one of us needs help, the others show up. That's not weakness. That's strength. He looked at her, something shifting in his expression. When did you become the strong one? I'm not strong. I'm just a woman who lost everything and somehow got given a second chance. I'm not wasting it by being afraid. Alexander reached out, took her hand. I'm terrified of losing you both, of making the wrong choice, of screwing this up beyond repair. Then we'll be afraid together. And if we screw up, we'll figure it out together. That's what family means. Family, he repeated, like he was testing the word. 3 months ago, it was just me and Lily drowning in grief. And now you have me, for better or worse, in board meetings and police stations and midnight searches through construction sites. All of it. He pulled her into a hug, desperate, grateful, full of all the words neither of them knew how to say. They stood like that for a long moment. Two people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their broken lives, holding on tight while the world tried to pull them apart. In her room, Lily slept peacefully, dreaming of turtles who learned to swim, and mothers who never really left, and families that were built from love instead of blood. And somewhere in Queens, on a shelf in an empty apartment, 17 stuffed animals waited for their maker to come home. But Mara didn't need that apartment anymore. She'd found home in a penthouse 73 floors above Manhattan, with a girl who needed her and a man who understood that the best things in life couldn't be bought or planned or controlled. They could only be survived together. 1 year later, the conference room at Pierce Global was packed. Press, board members, social workers, teachers, and parents filled every seat. At the front, a photograph hung on the wall. A little boy with a missing front tooth, grinning at the camera like the world was one big adventure. Elian Ellington, forever 5 years old. Mara stood at the podium, her hands gripping the edges to keep them steady. A year ago, she would have run from a room like this. Now she was about to address it. Alexander sat in the front row with Lily, who'd insisted on wearing her yellow dress for the occasion, the same dress she'd worn that day in the old building, the day everything changed. "Thank you all for coming," Mara began, her voice quieter than she'd intended. She cleared her throat, tried again. "A year ago, I was a janitor who wanted to be invisible. I'd spent 6 years hiding from the world because facing it hurt too much. Then I met a little girl who was hiding too. And somehow, we found each other in the darkness." She looked at Lily, who smiled back, holding Patch the bear. "People asked me why I helped her. They said I wasn't qualified, wasn't trained, wasn't appropriate, and they were right. I had no credentials, no degrees, no professional expertise. What I had was something simpler and maybe more important. I had a heart that understood what she was going through because I'd been there myself." The room was silent, everyone leaning forward. 6 years ago, I lost my son Elian. He died in a car accident, and that loss destroyed the person I used to be. I stopped teaching, stopped connecting, stopped living in any real way. I just existed. Her voice caught. But Elian deserved better than that. He deserved a mother who honored his memory by living fully, by loving bravely, by being the kind of person who showed up for others the way I wished someone had showed up for me. She gestured to the photograph behind her. Today, we're launching Elian's Light, a program that provides free grief counseling and support for children who've lost parents or siblings. But this isn't traditional therapy. This program pairs grieving children with mentors who've experienced similar losses, people who understand that sometimes you don't need someone with answers. You just need someone who knows what the questions feel like. Applause started, but Mara held up her hand. "I need to be clear about something. This program exists because Alexander Pierce had the courage to trust his instincts over corporate policy, because he chose his daughter's healing over his company's reputation. That decision cost him. The stock dropped, the board fought him, the media crucified him, but he didn't back down. And because of that, Lily is here today, thriving and whole." Alexander's eyes glistened. Lily reached over and squeezed his hand. Elian's Light isn't just about credentials or training programs. It's about creating spaces where grief is honored instead of rushed, where pain is witnessed instead of fixed, where children learn that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to carry love and loss in the same heart. She stepped away from the podium and a video began to play. Testimonials from the pilot program. 12 children who'd spent the past 6 months working with mentors. Kids talking about their losses, their fears, their slow journey back to joy. One girl, 9 years old, said something that made the whole room go quiet. "My mentor told me that my dad isn't gone. He just changed addresses. He lives in my heart now." That made more sense than anything any therapist ever said. The video ended. Mara returned to the podium. "We're starting with 3 centers in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. Our goal is to serve 500 children in the first year. Every mentor is someone who's survived their own loss. Parents who've buried children, siblings who've lost brothers and sisters, children who've lost parents. We're building a community of people who understand that grief isn't something to overcome. It's something to integrate into who we are." She pulled out a small stuffed rabbit, one ear bigger than the other, stitching crooked and imperfect. "This is what I make when grief gets too heavy. Imperfect things that carry love anyway. That's what Elian's Light is. Imperfect people trying to help other imperfect people survive impossible pain. And somehow, in that imperfection, we find healing." The applause this time was genuine, sustained. People stood, cameras flashed, but Mara only saw 3 faces in the crowd. Alexander, proud and emotional, Lily beaming with joy, and in her mind, Elian smiling his gap-toothed smile, finally at peace. After the presentation, reporters swarmed with questions. Mara answered a few, then let Alexander take over. She found Lily waiting by the door. "That was amazing." Lily threw her arms around Mara's waist. "Elian would be so proud of you." "You think so?" "I know so, because now his name means something good. It means hope and helping and love that doesn't die." Lily pulled back, serious suddenly. "Mara, can I help with Elian's light? I want to talk to kids who lost their moms. I want to tell them it gets different, like you taught me." Mara's heart swelled. This child, who a year ago couldn't speak through her pain, now wanted to help others through theirs. "When you're ready, absolutely. But there's no rush. You're still healing too." "I know, but helping others helps me. You taught me that too." Alexander joined them, loosening his tie. The board approved full funding, $5 million to start, with more if we need it. They're actually excited about this. Good PR, community impact, all that corporate speak. But I think some of them actually get it. "Victoria would have loved this," Mara said quietly. Alexander nodded. "She always said the best use of money was helping people who couldn't help themselves. This," he gestured at the room, the program materials, the photograph of Elian. "This is exactly what she would have wanted." Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Dad, can we go get ice cream to celebrate? The 3 of us?" "Absolutely. What flavor are you thinking?" "Chocolate. No, wait, strawberry, or maybe both." She ran ahead toward the elevator, calling back, "Hurry up, slow people." Alexander and Mara followed at a slower pace, the chaos of the launch fading behind them. "You know what the craziest part of all this is?" Alexander said. "A year ago, if someone had told me that losing Victoria would lead to finding you, to building this program, to watching Lily become this incredible, compassionate kid, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have said grief only destroys. It doesn't create." "It does both," Mara said. "It destroys who you were and creates who you become. The question is whether you let it create something beautiful or something bitter." "You made it beautiful." "We made it beautiful, all 3 of us." In the elevator, Lily pressed the button for the lobby, humming to herself. Patch the bear was tucked under her arm, one mismatched ear flopping forward. "You know what I was thinking," Lily said, looking up at them. "Every kid who comes to Elian's light should get a stuffed animal, like Patch. Something imperfect and handmade that shows them it's okay to be a little broken." Mara's breath caught. "That's a wonderful idea. I can help make them. You can teach me how to sew. And we can make bears and rabbits and elephants, and each one will be different, and the kids will know that different is okay." "We'll need a lot of fabric," Alexander said, playing along. "Then we'll buy all the fabric stores," Lily declared with 7-year-old confidence. "We're rich. We can afford it." They laughed. Real, genuine laughter that echoed in the elevator shaft. Outside, Manhattan blazed in afternoon sun. People rushed past, caught up in their own lives, unaware that in this moment, 3 people who'd been shattered by loss had found a way to be whole again. Not fixed, not healed in the traditional sense, just whole enough to keep loving, keep living, keep honoring the people they'd lost by refusing to let grief be the end of their story. They walked to the ice cream shop on the corner, Lily skipping ahead, Alexander and Mara following hand in hand. And somewhere, in whatever place the dead go when they leave us, 2 souls watched, Victoria Pierce and Elian Ellington, smiling at the family they'd inadvertently created through their absence. Because love, Mara had learned, never really ends. It just changes form. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to let it, that change becomes something more beautiful than you ever imagined possible. "Double scoop," Lily announced at the counter. "Because we're celebrating." "What are we celebrating?" the teenager behind the register asked. Lily looked back at Mara and Alexander, her smile bright enough to light the whole city. "We're celebrating being a family, the best kind, the kind we chose." And in that small ice cream shop in Manhattan, with chocolate and strawberry melting in the afternoon heat, 3 people who'd found each other in the wreckage of grief finally, completely, came home.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.